Hey, it's Jess. Welcome back. Today I'm here with another Way Back Wednesday video where I will be talking about all the books that I read in July of 2020. And looking at my Goodreads, I read 6 books this month, and all of them were new. None of them were rereads. None of them were second chances. So I had a pretty good reading month. The, the first book I read was A Court of Thorns and Roses. I had read Throne of Glass in June, so I was getting my introduction into the Mossverse and had heard all about A Court of Thorns and Roses. A lot of people call it ACOTAR. That's like the acronym for it. And I remember I started reading this book and I kept reading this book and I kept reading this book because back then I was very bad at DNFing books. And I was like, I heard so many good things. So many people love this book. I loved Throne of Glass. Keep pushing through. Finally, about chapter 40, I was like, oh, I really like this book. I don't normally give books that long anymore, but I just kept pushing through with this one. The beginning of the book, the first 39 chapters, are very much a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. And to me, it wasn't even a very interesting or intriguing retelling, but I kept going. It got better. So if you don't know anything about A Court of Thorns and Roses, it is about Feyre. She is a human, and she and her dad and 2 sisters live in this really ramshackle shack. They're very poor. Feyre is basically, she goes out and hunts, gathers, is the one that's supporting her family, even though she's the youngest daughter. One day she kills a wolf and discovers that the wolf was actually a fae being. And so she is a fae, comes to her house and takes her to their kingdom in, repentance for killing this fae being. And that's Tamlin. So she's in, the summer court? I don't even remember. The spring court? I don't even remember. She goes and lives with Tamlin, who she finds out that this land, has a curse put on them. All of the inhabitants in the land have to wear these masks. And then she's like a captor. And obviously things happen and she ends up falling in love with Tamlin. And then that's like the Beauty and the Beast part. The part that I was like, meh. And then this part goes where basically she like follows Tamlin into this mountain court and then more stuff happens. And that's the better part of the book, the end of the book. I could have really skipped like most of the beginning of the book. But anyway, that was A Court of Thorns and Roses. So then my library had A Court of Mist and Fury, so obviously I picked that one up. So this is the second one in the ACOTAR series, and it follows Feyre and Tamlin. They have escaped from the mountain underground kingdom thing, but so they're back. She's happily in love with Tamlin. She had to make a deal with another fae in the night court called Rhysand. Everyone says his name different. I'm pretty sure it's Rhysand because they call him Rhys. So it's Rhysand, not Rhysand. Anyway, neither here nor there. So it's basically like she made a deal with him that she would go to his court, I think like once a month for a weekend or something like that. And so it's kind of her living with the choices that she had to make in the underground kingdom, the things she had to do to free Tamlin and his kingdom from the curse, and then figuring out more about what it's like to be a fae. Also, she gets turned into a fae. Spoilers. Anyway, so I read the first 2 ACOTAR books. Then I read Bloodlines, which is the first book in a series. I'm pretty sure it's called the Bloodlines series. It's by Rochelle Mead. And it is set in the same universe as the Vampire Academy books. And it follows an alchemist named Sydney. And in the later Vampire Academy books, you find out about alchemists. They are humans that have like magical abilities, kind of. They dabble in magic or something like that. And they don't like vampires or the vampire world at all. But this follows Sydney, who you met in the Vampire Academy books, I think the 5th one. And she has been pulled back into aligning and helping the vampire court. And then stuff happens. It's a young adult book. I've never read anything else in this series, partially because my library doesn't have any of the other books, and I didn't really care about it that much to go out and buy them or anything. So it was a fun read. I'm pretty sure I gave it like a 4, but it wasn't anything that I cared about enough to read anymore. So that's that for Bloodlines. Then I read Dr. Sleep by Stephen King, and this is basically the sequel to The Shining, only written gajillion years later. So in this book, you follow Danny Torrance as he has grown up after his life after surviving the Overlook Hotel. There is an evil like gang of people called the True Knot. They're led by Rose the Hat that are attacking kids and adults with the shine, which Danny has. And so he's basically he connects with this one girl, and they're trying to save each other so that, she doesn't get killed by the True Knot. So I really liked it. I thought that it was a really good sequel, especially considering it was written so much later than the original book. I would assume that Stephen King didn't even plan to write a sequel. So I thought it was really well done. I really liked it. Not one of my favorite books, but I think it's worth a read if you like Stephen King. It was one of his like better, more recent contemporary novels. Then I read Verity by Colleen Hoover. I feel like a lot of people read this book in 2020. During the shutdown earlier in 2020, Colleen Hoover had like 4 or 5 books that you could get for free on Kindle. And so this was one that I had downloaded for free. And I had only read a few other books by her. I read Maybe Someday, and there's like 3 books, Maybe Not. And then I don't remember the 3rd book. Very different series. I really liked those series. Those were like cozy contemporary romance series books. And so I read Verity knowing nothing about it. It is very different than the other Colleen Hoover books that I had read. So Verity is about Lowen, who is a writer. And there is this huge book series written by Verity. Her name is Verity, the author. And Verity is in a car accident, and her husband wants Lowen to be the ghostwriter to finish Verity's series. And so then Lowen comes and lives at their house and then like falls in love with the husband, but like Verity is in a coma upstairs in a bedroom. So it's weird. She finds a manuscript that is supposedly like a real life memoir about Verity. This book, you love it or you hate it. It's very divisive in the booktube universe. Everyone always asks, are you team letter? Are you team manuscript? I don't even remember anymore because I read this book almost 4 years ago and I don't think I cared at the time. I liked it. I had a great time reading it. I don't think I ever want to read it again, but it was nice to me. I didn't know that it was going to be like a thriller book. And that's usually what type of book I read. So I was very happy thinking that I was going to go in getting this like romance story like Colleen Hoover's other books. And then I got Verity, which is, again, very different. So I enjoyed it. I still own it because I didn't undownload it from my Kindle, but I haven't had the desire to go back and read it again. I don't know. I'm sure you've read it. If you have, let me know what you thought about it. And are you team letter or team manuscript? And the last book that I read in July was Crown of Midnight, which is the second book in the Throne of Glass series. So I was really on a Sarah J. Maas kick this month. And so in Crown of Midnight, it is the second book. You are still following Selena. And in the first book, she was part of this big trial to become the king's assassin. She wins the trials. So she's the king's assassin. She hates the king. And so while she is going and doing her job for him on the side, she is doing like vigilante justice. And so it's kind of her coming to terms with, you know, everything that goes into that, trying to be secretive, trying to dole out this justice that she feels is justified, but also trying to deal with the ethics of the king is wanting her to do these things and she doesn't want to do them. I really liked this book. I really liked Throne of Glass. I liked this book too. And like I said in my last Way Back Wednesday, I'm going to reread the Throne of Glass series this year because I do really remember, I've only read 4 of them, but I really liked all the ones I read. And I really remember enjoying Crown of Midnight. I'm pretty sure in August I read Heir of Fire. That's my favorite, so I can't wait to talk about that one. I really remember reading that one. But overall, I liked Crown of Midnight. I liked it enough to keep going in the series. So that was what I read in July of 2020. I feel like I had a pretty good reading month. I liked all of the books that I read. They were entertaining to me. And I have a couple that I want to go back and revisit. So have you read any of these books? Let me know. What did you think? All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.